Alright guys, we're going to go on to part 2 of SOS Quarterly. This is on page 588 of your textbook. Once again, I will be mindful of the time of the recording, so we might have to break this down into one more part. Ideally, we shouldn't. Now this is the last little bit that we're going to be doing with Publisher. And as you guys can tell so far, there's a lot of different things that we can do with this. So on here we've opened up SOS Quarterly. Remember, we added in our stories, we moved things around, we added guides and columns, things like that. What we're going to do is go on to page number 2. Remember, you just have to click it down here on the left hand corner. And we're going to create a horizontal ruler guide at 5.5 inches. So remember, you have to go up here to the top, click and drag down. And if you're not exactly right on, don't stress about it. Do your best that you can to be on it. Once again, we have our nice pretty green line. So this text box we're going to create now is going to go across all 3 columns. And we're going to go up here from the top, down here to the bottom. Remember, you can go to Insert, Text Box. Or you can use your text box button over here on your objects toolbar. Start in your top left hand corner, go down through the bottom right. Here, just go ahead and zoom in, and we're going to insert the information that we see on page 588. I'm going to pause the video, add in that information, and you can pause your side of the video to add in yours. Okay, make sure you put this through spell check. Make sure down here where it said name, you put in your own name. We're going to go ahead and select it all. I just used Control A for that. We are going to change it to 36 point, bold and italic. So I like to use my shortcuts, Control B, Control I, and our center align, which is Control E. Remember, you can also use your buttons up here across the top on your toolbar. So go ahead, you can zoom out, you can see how it fits onto your document. So we're going to click on any place outside of the text box. That way the text box is no longer selected. And we're going to go ahead and create a horizontal ruler guide at 8 inches. So once again, you're going to click up here at the top, click drag down, be as close to the 8 as possible. If you're close, that's great. Remember, if you are way off, you can go ahead and undo it and then try again. We're going to create another text box, and we're going to put it on the bottom half now. So create a text box like we've done before, using your button over here on your objects toolbar, or up here at the top, insert text box. Now with Publisher, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, usually it's not used for PowerPoint, with all of those programs, we can link different projects together, which is really nice. And this is done through mail merge. With your mail merge, this is usually from an Access document. Access is a database file. If you think about a phone book, that is a good example of a database that's in print. It has your name, first and last name, address, zip code, phone number, and other information about businesses. There's ads within the phone book, things like that. In our case, we are going to use a data file called Sage's Outdoor Supplies, and that is going to be within your chapter data files. Now, I know we have not gone through Access yet. That we will not do until next year. However, with this mail merge, you can still do it without knowing too much of Access. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and zoom in. Remember, F9 is our shortcut. You can use your buttons up here, or go to your view, zoom right down here. And we are going to go ahead and connect our recipient list so it's in our text box. So we're going to go up here to Tools, and you're going to go down here to where it says Mailings and Catalogs. Now, when everybody received the newsletter from the school, we had started this about a year and a half before we quit mailing the newsletter out to everybody. We did this with an Access file because then it printed all the information on there for us, and we could have Access and Publisher work together and have everything sorted by town, so we didn't even have to do that. Plus, it also helped us count how many we had. We did not have to go through and count them by hand. So once again, we went to Tools, Mailings and Catalogs, and we're going to go and do a mail merge. From there, it gives us this task pane. This is the nice part. It walks us through step by step on how to get through this. So we're going to use an existing list. So we're going to use it from another database. And we are going to connect the list. So we're down here at the step 1 of 3 where we clicked on next. You need to go and have this downloaded, this file downloaded out of your data files. I will go and pull it up on mine. So on there you have Sage's Outdoor Supplies. So you can click it once and then click open or double click. Now what it's going to do, it gives you this dialog box with selecting a table. What Access does is it puts all the information into a table. So it's kind of like Excel with how it's set up. And from here, each table has its own specific name. And you can see we have 3 different names on here: customers, products, and transactions. For us, we're going to use customers. So we can just double click on it. And here it's showing us, here's our source. Here's the last name, first name, which to me it looks like these are a little mixed up, that this should be first name and this should be last name. Our address, city, state, and if we scroll over, we can see zip code and then any sort of other information. In this case, each customer has an ID and each one's just numbered 1 through 4. On here, if a record, and that's what each line is a record. If it has a check mark, it means it's going to be included. If there's no check mark, like you can see I just unchecked Lloyd, it means he's not going to be on there. We can sort this, and you can see it's A to Z. If you click on it, we can tell it what we want it to sort by: first name, last name, zip code, things like that. That's what we use for the school newsletter. Our case, we don't even have to sort it. Just make sure all your check marks are on there. Tell it OK. Now it looks like it hasn't done a whole lot yet. No big deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to still make sure that our insertion point is in here. And now we're working with this next step. What do we want to have on here? In our case, we can insert things in one spot at a time. So you can just double click on it and insert it. That is going to be the slowest way possible. And if you read through your instructions on page 589, it's going to have you insert each thing individually. We're not going to do that. We're going to do it the quick, easy way. Down here you have address block. Go ahead and click on it. So it pulls up an example for you of how it's going to show up. And you can click through and see all of your different people. You can see that it's going to match any fields. If you have any issues, if the address doesn't look correct, you can go in and fix it. Most generally, you will not have any issues. So just tell it OK. You can see that it has been put in there for you. And just so you guys know, I did make a mistake. Sorry. Our text box is only supposed to be over the last 2 columns, not all 3. So going back, we added in our address block by clicking right over here on the left hand side on address block. It pulled all the information in for us. This case, we don't have to add in commas, we don't have to have spaces, things like that. Whereas if we inserted each field individually, we have to add all those things in there. So we're just doing it so it saves us some steps. So then if you click through right here with the preview, you can see how things will change on that also. So next what we'll do is we'll click through, and you can do a print preview, and you can see how it shows up. So here's our text box that we typed earlier. There's our person or our address block as we needed it. On here you can click anywhere outside of it. If you so need, you can merge it to a new publication. You can add it to the end of something that you already have on there. If you go to print, you can see that you have a test in there, how many copies of each one you want, and you can make changes in here as needed. With this, you can go ahead and save it, and just save it as SOS Quarterly, just like what you did before. If you notice when I did that, I don't think we'll get a good view here. It changed it to address block, and then it flashed back to the actual address block that's in there. It does that because you just have an address block in there that has all the information. The people's information is actually just what's in there. That is all for this chapter. If you need to go back and look at your questions again, if you did not submit them, you're more than welcome to. If it's one of those where you want to fix a question or two, you need to make sure you talk to me about it, and I can open it up so you can have another chance at those questions and just change the ones that you want. I will be asking you about that before I leave for Florida. Otherwise, the exercises are posted in Moodle that you need to complete. Good luck, guys. The due date will be written up on the board. I do have to double check for what days you guys are gone for track meets. Enjoy your week.